You're listening to the Lone Star Plate Podcast with your host, Patrick Scott Armstrong.
Yes, Barry, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm super excited to talk to you. I'm in awe of your career, everything you've done. I'm a little starstruck, and I do this all the time, to be honest with you. So yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you. Just looking through your career and everything you've done, it's mind blowing. To be honest with you.
Well, I've been around for a while.
That's a great way to put it. I've been around a while. What a Texas way to say that. I love it. I love it. That's great. Yes, Barry, thank you so much. You are true Texan to have on the podcast. You're a true cowboy. I read that you got inducted into the Texas Cowboy Hall of Fame. That must have been exciting, right?
Also, I'm in the Hall of Great Western Performers up in Oklahoma, in the Cowboy Hall of Fame up there.
Wow.
So I'm kind of rubbing elbows with the people walking in high cotton, you know.
I read that you compete in horse cutting competitions.
Well, I used to.
Yeah, you used to. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. Was that something you always got in? Because what I read was it was in the 2000s, but was it something you always kind of did anyway, or?
Well, no, I had to relearn to ride cutting horses. You know, there's a little different. Usually you rein a cow horse quite a bit. On the cutting horse, you got to drop the reins and let him do his work. You know, the only signals you give him with your legs and feet.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. So they're really trained to what's going on for the most part because they practice,
yeah.
I guess, right?
It's also inbred in them. It's an instinct with them. They've got
Wow.
they've either got cow sense or they don't. You can tell that pretty quick.
Wow. And you own horses, I would assume.
Not anymore, but I used to.
Right on. And do you have any animals, or how's that going? What's that?
Well,
what's the animal life?
I've got a couple of dogs out here that are the size of nearly the size of yearling calves. They're male 230 pounds, outweighs me by about 20 pounds, 25.
The dog weighs 230 pounds?
Yeah, they're English Mastiffs.
Oh, okay. Holy. Yeah, I got a couple dogs myself, and not even if we combined them and tripled it would they weigh that. That's hilarious. I love it. You can see one behind me over here hanging out on my couch.
I saw one walk past you a little earlier.
Yeah, I let them roam free. You know, that's my, they never get involved with the podcast. You know, I've tried giving them a mic a few times, but they just want to hang out. So anyway, yes.
If they see me on camera, if they're in here, they come over and drool all over the telephone.
Hey, if they come in, we'll say hi to them. I'm happy with the, those I call happy interruptions. We've had them a lot on the podcast. I don't mind those.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Barry, I was really excited to talk to you too about that. You know, there's this obviously you've had a wonderful career, but I do want to get into that. But they told me I have to talk to you a little bit about Yellowstone, so I wanted to bring that up first. This great show that's just taken over, television, right? This show has it has just, everyone I know watches this show. I don't know, I can't think of a show. Maybe like Sopranos or Game of Thrones. It has that kind of following. How did you get involved with the project? And what do you think about it?
Well, I'm kind of on the edge of that. You know, I'm not really involved in it that much. Taylor Sheridan was looking for something for me to do in it, and he decided that they were going to shoot a little bit at the Four Sixes Ranch down here in Texas.
Yeah.
And they decided to put me in as an old retired cowboy there. So that's I did one episode. That was it. We did a lot of the people in Yellowstone in 1883 were at the cutting last night. They had the celebrity cutting.
Oh, wow.
So I was over there. I watched it.
At the stockyards.
Tommy Lee Jones was there. Yeah, over down at no, not at stockyards, at Will Rogers.
Oh, Will Rogers. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I used to play hockey in Will Rogers, if you can believe that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, they used to have, I don't know, do they still have the ice hockey rink there?
I don't know. I don't think so.
As crazy as that is, they used to put down an ice hockey rink there, which is kind of insane.
It was probably in the Will Rogers arena.
Yeah, that's exactly where it was. Actually,
yeah,
you're right.
That's
you're
where
right.
the cutting was last night. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just crazy that they can do that, right? Like technology, it's insane.
Oh yeah, they do all kinds of stuff. Now they put a skating rink in an ice skating rink in at Stockyards, right in front of the Exchange Building for the winter.
Oh wow! Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's that's cool.
Well, wow. They just put it up.
That's incredible. You said Tommy Lee Jones was at the cutting competition. Has he ever competed in that, or he just likes to go and check
he was a polo player. He used to be. His wife still plays.
Wow.
And he's got a ranch down there in San Saba, so he's an active rancher. We've been friends for, I guess, probably 30 years.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, y'all got to work together, maybe not on the same, for No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, we had a scene together in that. We also worked together the first time I worked with Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson was playing Tommy's father in a thing called Stranger on My Land.
Okay.
Which they later on changed to the title to Eminent Domain, which doesn't say anything like what Stranger on My Land says.
That's not a good name change. Yeah. It seems like it would have been the other way around. Like they would have, Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, that's great. I actually just watched No Country for Old Men, and there's such an incredible film. How is it working with the Coen brothers? Is there something different about their approach that you weren't used to, or all bread and butter?
No, except there's two of them.
Yeah.
And they never talk to me.
Wow, really?
And or to Tommy, and it was the first scene that he did in the movie, and it was the only scene that I did in the movie. And we were having lunch. He said, "What do you think about these guys?" I said, "Well, they seem all right to me. I like some of their other movies." He said, "I don't know. They don't tell you anything." we'd do the scene, and then they'd get together and they'd whisper behind their hands, to each other. They goes, and then they'd say, "Let's do it again." And they'd do it again, maybe 2 or 3 times, and then they'd reset, and then do it again, and then reset. But they never said anything to us.
Oh wow!
And finally, after we finished up, I said, I think it was to Joel, I said, do you guys ever give anybody direction? And he said, if we cast it right, we don't have to. So that makes him about the smartest director I've ever worked with.
Wow. Yeah. So what a great story. Wow. So I guess
they're good guys.
Yeah, so I guess that didn't bother you then, not getting the notes. Maybe at first, but then once you heard that, you're like, okay.
It never bothers me. It bothered Tommy, I think, at first.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me if they don't say anything. If they don't say anything to me, I assume I'm doing okay.
Right.
Or they're getting ready to fire me, one or the other.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's the Texas way right there. Listen, I'm going to do it. You take it or leave it, right?
If you don't like it. I had one director one time, he was we were doing this thing. I had to shear a sheep in the scene, you know.
Oh, wow.
So I'd gone out for about 2 weeks in a row, going out shearing sheep every morning, just so I'd be able to do this scene and do this monologue while I'm shearing the sheep. And day comes, we're going to shoot it, and I get the sheep out, got his leg behind his head, got him all set. Take the first cut on him, and the director said, cut. No, don't make that face. And I said, what face is that? Says, the one you just made. I said, well, wait a minute, we're that's not helpful. I don't stand in front of the mirror in the morning making faces and practicing, so I'll do a certain face.
Yeah.
You got to give me another direction. He said, what direction? I said, well, tell me to think something else. He said, think something else. Okay, action.
Oh my God.
So I had to go get another sheep, get him all set, and I start doing it, and he cut me again. He said, no, you're making that face again. I said, look, this is a face you hired. If you don't like it, why don't you fire me and bring somebody else in? And he said, no, I don't want to do that. I like your face, but you're just making a face. It's not. I said, okay, all right, let's do it again. Well, I just was absolutely stone-faced, like Buster Keaton, you know, doing this. I'm talking and doing this. And I got the sheep sheared and shoved him down. I said, now, how was that? He said, that was perfect. Well, I didn't really do anything different. But he just wanted to tell me something, you know. He wanted to say something and didn't know what to say. He was actually a cinematographer. He'd never directed before, and he didn't know how to talk to an actor, which a lot of people don't.
Sure.
To me, the best directors are the ones who've had acting experience. People like Sidney Poitier. He was a wonderful director.
Wow.
And Clint Eastwood is a better director than he is an actor, in my opinion.
He has amazing films.
There's a lot of good actors who direct. I have no ambition to direct. I wouldn't want to do it. You got to work too hard.
Tommy Lee directed some amazing films.
Oh,
I've enjoyed.
He does a good job. He
Absolutely.
does a very good job.
Yes. Yes. And I just love that he's, and like yourself, very Texas proud and brings a lot of stories back home and tells a lot of stories that need to be told. And I like that. Yeah. I've always respected him as a filmmaker for sure. That's interesting. What's your, do you have your favorite director you've ever worked with that you'd want to rework with again?
Oh, well, a lot of them are dead now.
Oh no!
Andy McLaughlin was a very good director. He was Victor McLaughlin's son, and he directed a lot of John Wayne movies. I liked him. He was fast. He'd do the thing fast. And Clint Eastwood, the only direction he ever gave me was, let's just go till we bogged down. And so that's what we did.
What was that? What film was that? Was that Any Which Way You Can?
No, it was Honky Tonk Man.
Honky Tonk Man. Okay. Oh, wow. So he directed Honky Tonk Man. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. But you were in Any Which Way, right, as well with him.
Yeah. His stunt double, Buddy Van Horn, directed that movie.
Oh, really? A stunt double? Was that a common thing?
No, not really. But Buddy had done he'd done Second Unit quite a bit, but he never directed the movie, and Clint was always there. You know, he was always,
I
even
see.
if he wasn't in the scene, he was always there.
Sure.
His
You know.
company produced the movie, you know.
Oh, okay. So yeah, he's there just in case, right? You know,
Yeah.
something needs to happen. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
they'd talk things over and stuff, you know, but Buddy was really in charge.
wow. Hey, it takes a team. You know, I've interviewed lots of actors, right? It takes a team effort to make the film or television show or whatever the project is, right? Yeah.
From the very beginning, and it all has to fit together.
Yeah.
If you don't have the right soundtrack music, you've got a failure, and no matter how good the film is.
Yeah.
If you don't have the right lighting, it's you know, it'll look muddy on the screen, you know.
Yeah.
You got to have, and everything got to come together.
Yeah.
And it's amazing if they can get as many of them as they do to come together. I've done some that I can't even watch. And, you know, I'm not going to say which ones, but there's some that I start to look at. I go, oh no.
Oh no. Do you like to watch your stuff after you've done them? I know some actors don't like to watch their work.
Not particularly right away. And I don't like to watch dailies or anything. That's their business. I don't really have anything to do with that. I don't watch them right away usually, unless I go to a premiere or something. Then half the time I'm out talking to somebody in the lobby. But I like to watch them later on, you know, because it's like watching an old home movie.
Sure.
You know?
Wow.
Also, I like to look at it when they had hair.
Those are the only ones you want to watch now, right?
I don't want to watch these old guys. I don't need to see that. I can look in the mirror and see that.
That's funny. Well, I read that you were actually even though you're known for playing maybe some of these, you know, Texas or cowboy parts, right, or military, maybe, you know, people in power, really. I see you playing a lot of parts like that. You started as a Shakespearean actor, right? So how does that transition? One, how do you get into that and where you grew up in Texas? Because I know that area. And right. And then how does that transition happen out of it?
Well, I don't know. I got very interested. Well, first of all, I got interested in the Western movies, you know, when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I wanted to be, by the time I was 7 years old, I knew I wanted to be an actor.
Wow.
Because I watched all these Westerns, watched, you know, Wild Bill Elliott and Alan Rocky Lane and all those guys, you know, and I liked them. But then I got to where I liked the sidekicks better because they got to work more and they also got to get dirty. You know, the good guys always looked like they just took a bath and put on a starched shirt just before they walked on the set. And I didn't want to look like that. But anyhow, it developed from there, and I started reading theories of acting, Stanislavski, Chekhov, and the different ones. And then I started reading the classics, Shakespeare and all on through there. And I got interested in that. At the time, there was one time that we didn't have anything around except the Bible. And I read that as an adventure story, like you'd read Moby Dick.
Yeah.
You know? And I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that probably, you know, kind of shocked people, but I liked it.
Sure, of course, absolutely.
And I got to where I could understand Shakespeare. Well, the problem with Shakespeare is people read it in a monotone, and there's no, I mean, you can't understand modern English if somebody reads it like that. It's now. Let me give you an example. This is the a thing from As You Like It, and I'm going to do it like your English teacher do it. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and each man in his time plays many parts. Okay, now that doesn't make any sense. If you do it like this, it makes sense. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and each man in his time plays many parts. His acts being 7 ages. See, that makes better sense.
Oh man, are you kidding me? I was way more captivated, right? Like just hanging on every word, really, right? Yeah. That's wow. Yeah, you got a great voice, by the way. Yes, for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've actually read you did like you've done movie trailers and just or whatever trailers and different kind of stuff. Is that a different way of acting when you know it's just a mic and you and there's no
just
camera?
The voice. Yeah. Well, you know how it is. You use the mic more.
Sure. Yeah.
You know,
sure.
You get right in there like this when you're quiet. You talk about something.
You use the volume of it, right? The tone and the volume of it. Yeah. That's
See, it's like film acting as opposed to stage acting. The camera works as the audience. You don't have to play to the galleries. If you do that, people think you're a crazy man. And so, you got to be a little bit subtle when you're working on film.
Yeah, that is interesting, right? That is there a preference for you when it comes to something like that? I mean,
No, not as long as I know what I'm doing. As long as I know I'm not, a lot of times they'll film a stage production and it looks very big and stagey, because they're filming a stage production.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
And a lot of times, we did a thing for HBO one time, Bus Stop, that William Inge play.
Okay.
And it was with a live audience. We did it. I think we did a week's worth of performances before we brought the cameras in. And then we brought the cameras in. We had cameras on the stage and all over the place. And we had a live audience then too, but we were playing to a live audience.
Wow.
So it looked a little stagey, and the problem was they didn't have us all mic'd individually. They had mics overhead, and so it's echoey, and it didn't work because of the sound mainly.
Wow. Yeah, that's bringing all the different acting worlds together as one, right?
And they had a lot of people who were movie actors. They had Claude Akins playing the sheriff, and he was playing it like it was a movie. And Tim Matheson played Bo, the cowboy, and he'd done some stage work, so he was being a little stagey. And I played his old partner Virgil, who and I'd done both, so I kind of moderated it a little bit. And Margot Kidder played the girl. Pat Hingle played the professor. And it was a mixed bag of people. So it was a possibility of a very good production, but it didn't really work that well because of the sound.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, one piece of the puzzle can bring it all down, I guess. I worked in restaurants for a long time, and that's definitely how it is. For sure.
Yeah. Well, if you have an old greasy piece of food for the entree, and the salads and the desserts are great, you're not going to remember them. You're going to remember the old greasy piece of food in the middle.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I ran restaurants, it was always make sure that the dessert, the end of the meal, is perfect, because that's what people remember most, is the end of the meal.
Yeah.
If that goes wrong, the whole meal is bad. If it goes right,
But
it's good.
anymore, you can't sell them a dessert. Everybody's on the damn vegan
Yeah,
something.
yeah. That's true. That's true. Yes. So you're not a vegan, I would assume. You're a
No.
proud meat eater.
My son does that. I eat whatever I want to.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
mean, I'm not.
Absolutely.
I'm very lucky because it doesn't matter what I look like. You know, I can look like. As a matter of fact, it's better the worse I look, the better off I am.
Oh gosh, you're like, yes, I need that second plate of food. Okay, it's for work.
Yeah.
It's for work. I'm working now. What was your very first project that you ever got into in Hollywood?
Urban Cowboy.
Urban Cowboy. Wow.
Yeah.
John Travolta. Wow.
Yeah, and I'd never done much film. I'd done a little bit of film in New York, but I'd never done much. And so people thought they went down to Houston and scoured around the petrochemical plants until they found me. Some old guy just working down there, you know.
And how was
So
that? How was that experience?
Oh, it was great. I loved it. Jim Bridges, who directed it, and Aaron Latham, who wrote it, became good friends, and they're both gone now. But it was a great experience for me. I mean, the transition is not that hard.
Sure.
If you take into account that the camera is right here, even if it's over there.
Yeah.
You got to realize that you can't just roll your eyes and look like Bill the cat in the comic books.
Did y'all know that film was going to just become? Was there something on set that you just thought, oh yeah, this is going to become literally a cultural phenomenon?
I think one of the reasons it was such a hit was the music.
Yeah, music. Yeah, for sure.
Irving Azoff, who was a record producer, put together all those people, and that was the glue that held it together, I think.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
Think if we'd had mediocre music, it wouldn't have been any good.
That's interesting. I don't know if I've ever heard that take about that, because it's usually about John Travolta's role and how he played it, and that's what made the difference.
I think that had people were surprised that he was believable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. John is a much better and much more versatile actor than people give him credit for. But he, he's had his ups and downs. He's doing okay now. But before he had some pretty bad experiences before Pulp Fiction.
Yeah,
and he was kind of poisoned before that, and then. He went in and did that for old, I can't remember anybody's name.
Quentin Tarintino.
Yeah, Tarintino, that's right. And he went in and did that for him at scale, I think.
Yeah, and, I read a lot about that. They didn't want to take him at first, but that Quentin fought for him. And originally, Bruce Willis wanted that role. And he was fighting to get that role from John Travolta, and he ended up taking the other role or whatever. But have you ever had an opportunity to work with Tarantino? I'm surprised, to be honest.
No, I've talked to him before at parties and whatnot, and he said, "Oh yeah, wait a minute, we did work together. We worked together. He was an actor."
Oh wow!
And Steven Spielberg's little video game, How to Make a Movie.
Wow.
Steven Spielberg directed it, and I played the warden in the prison, and Quentin played the prisoner that I had to deal with. And so we did various scenes that were doing them in different ways, so that a person could edit it together and make different kinds of movies out of it.
How was Quentin as an actor? What was he like working like as an actor? That's so interesting.
He was good. He was good. He knows business real well, so he was good. He was, he worked in one of those movie rental places before he started directing, and he watched every kind of movie there was. So he's a scholar as far as movies go.
He's one of my favorites. I've watched so many interviews with him. He knows so much about films. It's mind-boggling, actually.
I really like that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, that was great. Absolutely.
That was he envisions things the way they ought to be. Was the Crazy Bastards in World War II, where they burned up all the Nazis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Inglorious Bastards, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Inglorious Bastards. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He does the revisionist history is what he calls it, where he goes back, right? He did it with Django a little bit. And then, yes, with Once Upon a Time. Yeah. With the Manson story. Absolutely. Yeah. Honestly, it just surprises me. You would fit absolutely into a Tarantino film. I'm surprised the role hasn't come across for you.
Someday.
Yes. He said he's got one more film left. I don't know. That's what he said. That you know what? He's got a show. I just saw in a podcast interview last week that he dropped the news. He said he hadn't told anybody. He wrote a show, an 8-episode show about the show that's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the black and white cowboy show. He wrote Bounty Law. He wrote it out. He wrote an 8-episode series. Hey, I don't know. It's Quentin, if you're listening, you're watching, Barry would.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Oh my God.
Yeah, James Stacy playing the lead.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's incredible. I also read you were one of my favorite. My favorite movie of all time is a little movie called The Toy. Surprisingly, with Richard Pryor. I know it's an odd film, but I love that film. I just grew up watching it. It's just my favorite film, and I love Richard Pryor so much. And I saw that you were in Stir Crazy. I hadn't seen that movie in a long time, but I have to ask you what it was like working with Richard and Gene Wilder, who are, in my opinions, just icons in comedy.
Well, Richard he was going through a rough time right about that time. You remember he nearly killed himself right after we finished that, and set himself afire.
Oh, that was after that film?
Right after, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so he was going through a rough time, and we were shooting the thing in the location work was in the Arizona State Prison, and it was in maximum security. So we'd have to go through like 4 different gates, bars,
oh, wow. Oh, it's a real prison? A real working prison?
Yeah, and they had, and all the people in there were convicts.
Oh, wow. I did not know this. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Most of the extras were convicts.
Wow.
And I was the only guy in the suit there in that maximum security, so I heard all kinds of stories.
Wow.
But Richard would come in, and when they'd clang that door shut behind him, he'd go and clang, and then we'd go through another one, they'd clang that, and he'd get more nervous and more tense every time we'd go through a door. And we'd go get into the yard, and he'd go over in the corner. They had a basketball court set up, but he'd go over in the corner, and he'd sit there with his back to the wall. watching. And that's all he did. He didn't do
Wow.
anything else.
Wow.
Gene, on the other hand, is out playing basketball with these killers and elbowing them out of the way. And,
No way.
Oh, yeah. He's a natural athlete.
Really?
And, when he was riding that bull and that mechanical bull in the office, we didn't double him once.
Wow.
He was doing it.
Wow.
I mean, he was. But Richard, I liked Richard, and we talked a little bit, but not a whole lot because he was too nervous.
Sure.
And you remember that big convict Erland, I forget his last name, but he was big, huge guy that sang the song. And
yes.
But he did guard his food and all that stuff. Richard was terrified of him. Well, that guy was a PhD and an Olympic wrestler.
Oh, wow.
He didn't talk a lot, but he was a very friendly fella. But Richard was terrified of him. He thought he was a skinhead.
That's funny. Oh man, that's funny. Oh man, well, poor guy for he's going through all that tough stuff, and
he went through it
after
he went through awful times. It was really he was a wonderful man, and I saw him when he was just before he died. He was in a wheelchair, and we talked for about 30 minutes. And,
oh wow.
And he was but I liked him a lot. He was a smart guy, and he had a hard life.
Sure. Well, you hear these stories of actors like having to work through their problems on these films, right? And I don't know, how do you feel about that? Does that,
Well, I don't know. Comedians seem to be have difficult lives. Most of them are not happy people.
Why is that? Why do you think that is?
Well, I think that's what leads them to comedy. I think comedy is something that they do. It's a coping mechanism. They're the clown in school. They're the clown, and they don't want to be the clown. They want to be the hero. They want to be the jock, but they get the clown part.
Yeah.
I think that's what it. I don't know. I mean, I haven't really analyzed it, but that seems to me to be the case. All actors are insecure. Most of us are loners, and a lot of us don't do well with crowds or a bunch of people.
That's interesting.
Wow. It's an odd psychology.
Sure. It seems at odds with each other. Yeah.
People think I'm an extrovert. Well, I'm not. I'm very much alone most of the time.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Is it just like when you play a character, you're able to come out of yourself? Is that it, or do you have to overcome anything to act?
I do a one-man show, and when I was a kid, I was very shy, and when I don't have anything to say in a conversation, I don't say anything. But I do this one-man show where I go out and they show some film clips and some slides as I'm talking. I go out and talk about my childhood growing up, what it was like, and blah, blah. It's never the same. It's always different.
Wow.
And then I'll, it's a lighthearted comedy kind of a show. It's not jokes, but it's just stories.
Like Will Rogers. This sounds
yeah, kind of. Except he was
or Mark Twain, maybe, or
yeah, something like that. But anyway, I do that, and then then we'll have I'll talk for about 45 minutes or between 45 minutes and an hour. And then we'll have an intermission where people can go out and have refreshments, go to the restroom or whatever. And then they come back in and we have question and answer. And usually we have to cut that off after about an hour and a half or so, because it usually goes on that long, you know.
Wow, an hour and a half of questions?
Questions and answers, because
wow.
I answer not in sentences, I answer in paragraphs. And then we have a sign. I'll sign autographs and take pictures. Usually I'm out of there. We start about 7:30. I'm out of there by midnight.
Oh wow, Barry! And, holy cow! You're putting in the time.
It's fun.
Sure.
You know, after I had my cancer operation, I didn't know if I had the energy to do it. Well, I did it a week ago today.
Wow.
At a little theater over in the Stockyards.
I was going to ask where it was at. Okay, a little theater in the Stockyards. Amazing. Wow, that's incredible. I'm so glad to hear, you're doing stuff like that. You got to stay active. I can't imagine the acting muscle, right? You got to keep working out the acting muscle. What other projects do you have coming out? Anything you're really excited about you got coming out?
Well, I'm working on, I did the first season of Tulsa King with Stallone.
I'm watching that show right now. Listen, Barry, that show is amazing. I love it.
Well, they picked it up, I understand. So they haven't talked to me about anything, but they could easily kill me off.
Do not kill Barry off, please.
I play the guy who owns the bar's father.
Okay.
Who has Alzheimer's, and he has to take me to work because I might burn the house down.
What episode do you come in on?
I sit there and drink whiskey all the time. Well, I've already been in briefly. You saw me down at the end of the bar. He said, "That's my dad now."
Oh yes.
That was me.
Yep.
And I'll be in a little more, but I had to do things like steal money out of the tip jar and stuff because they didn't give me enough lines, and so I just do stuff, you know.
I love it. Oh man, working with Stallone on his very first television show, right? I think it's his first television show. I don't know if he's ever.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe it is.
Yeah, and you've had, look, I used to watch you as a kid, Barry, on Northern Exposure. You earned 2 Emmy nominations, a phenomenal role. Some may call you a comedian.
Well, yeah, some people do call me a comedian.
Yeah.
There's a thing in there that says some call me a space jockey. some call me something else, you know.
Yes.
They got a picture of me, doing.
That's funny.
I'm a tough guy in that.
Yes.
Somebody asked me what I have.
That's funny.
Somebody said, "What do you have in common with Maurice Minifield?" I said, "Well, we talk alike, we look alike. That's about it."
Oh man, absolutely. I mean, you made that role. Was that role when you initially got it like that, and you just sort of jumped into, or you made that what it was?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how you'd separate the two. When I went into audition, I knew they were auditioning all the old men or the middle-aged men in Hollywood. So I knew I had to do something a little different. So I'd come in. So I came into the room rather than read the scene.
Yeah.
I had the producers and the writers there. I just threw the script on the floor. And I stood there at parade rest and said, "Shall we begin?" And they looked at each other, and so I fell over into the prone position, started doing push-ups. I was in good shape then, and I was doing the scene, and the casting director was reading the other part. I never looked at her. I just did push-ups the whole scene. And I stood up and I said, "Is that satisfactory, gentlemen?" And I did a turn, walked out. So,
wow. Wow. Okay. What was your thought behind? Was that always your process with auditions? Let me do something different. I don't know.
well, no, not usually, but this one kind of jumped out at me. It reminded me of my ex-brother-in-law, who was a lieutenant in the Marine Corps. He just kind of was that way.
All the
I
time.
Figured, well, why not? Why not? Yeah.
Go for it. Yeah. That's incredible.
I was in the Marine Corps, but I got to be a PFC, and that was it.
Wow. No, that's incredible. I always felt there was always talks of the show coming back for a reboot or something. Is that still possible?
You think? No. It's not. It wasn't possible then. There was there was a lawsuit, and the powers that be, or the powers that were, decided that they were going to kill the show. So they brought in another producer who didn't like the show, and basically disassembled it.
Wow.
So
that's
what
disappointing.
happened to it.
No, that's disappointing to hear.
And they didn't want to bring it back. They never put it in syndication. And
so crazy.
The last time I was nominated for an Emmy, I was the only one in the cast that was nominated. And I'd been at war with the producers by this time for about a year and a half. And they told me I couldn't go because I'd be working.
You couldn't go to the Emmys, they told you.
That's right. And I said, well, that's going to look awful bad to the public.
Yeah.
And they said, what do you mean by that? I said, I mean, I've got a publicist too. And he said, you can go then, but we don't have it in our budget to fly you to California and put you in a hotel and get a limousine and all that. I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll fly down on Alaska Airlines and stay in the Motel 6 and take the cheapest transport I can find.
Wow.
So I called a wrangler friend of mine, and I said, my daughter and I need a couple of horses. And hers needs to be bomb-proof, and mine needs to be able to not go crazy in a crowd. Do you have anything like that? And he said, yeah, what are you doing? And I said, well, I also need a permit to ride a horse on the streets of Pasadena during the Emmys. He said, you're going to do that? I said, yep. He said, well, okay. He said, how are we going to get rid of the horses? I said, I don't know. I guess you're going to have to be in the crowd and come take them. So they brought the horses over. It turns out that they did spring for a limousine and a nice hotel down close to the Emmys. But so I put the Wranglers in the limousine, and it followed us in. We came in horseback.
Wow. Oh my! You attended the Emmys on horseback. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then my horse left a little deposit on the red carpet when I got home. And the wranglers come around and led the horses away. and and my daughter and I walked up to the guy who was interviewing people getting there. And he said, "You've picked a very interesting way to come to the Emmys. Is there a story behind that?" Oh, well, that left me a good opening. I said, "Well, apparently Universal, CBS, and the producers of this show aren't making enough money selling sweatshirts and coffee cups and one thing and another to get me a limousine. So I took the cheapest transport I could find." Well, I didn't work for CBS or Universal for years after that. That's worth it.
What a story, Barry. How is that not the most epic entrance to an award show? I mean,
they killed it. They killed it. They couldn't find any footage of it.
Really? My God!
It was all over the news. They couldn't find any footage of it 3 days later.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Okay, internet sleuths, whoever's listening or watching, let's get on it. There's got to be
somebody did find a little clip of Shannon and me riding that.
That's amazing. I mean, that's just amazing. That's just so amazing. The phone calls you must have gotten after that, right? Yeah. Wow. Yes. No, that's amazing. Well, look,
it didn't hurt my business too bad.
No. I always respect actors, especially who just stand up for who they are in the industry, no matter what, whether it be a project or a role or step away from something or just speak their mind. I think a lot of us respect that, just as fans. So yeah,
well,
absolutely.
I think it's, I think there's certain things you need to stand up about.
Sure.
I think if you don't know about something, you better be real careful.
I agree.
A lot of people get into political things.
Yeah.
And they don't have enough knowledge about it to talk about it.
You're right.
That's why I say I don't advertise my politics. I don't put it out there. But I do hate that we are so full of hate now that we can't get anything done. I mean, we're not enemies in this country.
Yep.
We're rivals. We go about solving problems in a different way, but we're not enemies.
Sure.
And if we keep thinking of ourselves as enemies, we're not ever going to get anything done.
Well said, Barry. I never heard it put that way.
That's all I say. That's all I say on politics. I don't care what side you're on, but let's be kind to each other.
Couldn't agree more.
And give each other a chance to talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with all of that. I'm not into politics myself either. I hate politics. I stay out of it as much as I can. So yes, I'm with you. People think about. I'm sure you get asked all the time about your politics, right? I mean,
they asked me one time to run for the city council here in Fort Worth. I said, "Well, I'm out of town a lot. I'm also busy, and it wouldn't be fair to my constituents if I were to take that job. I appreciate your faith in me, but I really can't, in good conscience, run. What I really wanted to say is I'd rather roast for eternity into hell than be a dog catcher."
Yes. Oh man, yes. I think yes. A lot of Americans could agree with you. Your father was in politics, so it wouldn't surprise me if you were to dip your toe in it. A little.
No, not me. Not me.
Yeah.
I don't even. I won't even. Even if I like somebody and I believe them, I'm not going to I'm not going to speak for any candidate. I'm not going to come out for anybody because I don't know what the hell they're going to do.
Sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't. I don't know anything. I don't know enough to come out for anybody.
I tell you, I've interviewed a few politicians on here. My favorite politician I ever interviewed is Kinky Friedman. And people may not.
Well,
Kinky is.
He ought to be the governor of the state.
I love Kinky. I've interviewed him a few times, and every time it's magical. I love that guy.
For him I voted for him when they ran.
I would have voted for him back then too. Absolutely. He's great. I love talking to him. He has such great outlook on things, and I just love what he's about. His message. He's a great guy.
Well, if you talk to him again anytime, tell him hello from me.
Absolutely, of course, absolutely. We do at least one a year. We've been doing this 3 years, and we've interviewed him every year. So I know it'll be coming up soon. We'll have him on again. Absolutely, I'll tell him for sure. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, Barry. This has been absolutely amazing. I just can't tell you how wonderful it was to talk to you. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. It's just been a dream of mine to talk to you and hear all these great, wonderful stories. You've had such a great career.
It's been my pleasure. I enjoy these things. I got to keep my face out in the public because I don't live in California anymore, and everybody thinks I'm dying.
You need to get a TikTok account, Barry. Start TikToking.
Yeah, I got on one of them. Those things confuse me. People come on with mouse noses and ears and stuff. I can't figure it out. I think you got to be dabbling around in dope to get on that.
Listen, I don't even understand it either. So my 8-year-old nephew has to explain this stuff to me. I get it. Yeah, that's funny. No, well, thank you so much again, Barry. My pleasure. Having you on the podcast was just absolutely amazing. Thank you to you and your wife for just taking the time out of your day. I know you guys are busy, so just thank you all so much. And this was absolutely amazing. Thank you again, Barry. My best to you and your family during the holidays here. I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season. Get to celebrate and be with family.
Right back to you and your watchers or listeners or whatever you call them now, your audience.
Yeah.
Your worldwide audience.
That's right.
This is confusing. You can sit in your house, not sit in my house, and we're talking to millions of people.
Isn't that crazy? That's crazy. I agree. Yeah. It's I listen. I don't question it anymore, Barry. I just do it. I just lead in,
yeah. I don't question anything anymore. I don't have the right question.
That's right. Yeah, I don't have the right question. I'm stealing that, Barry. That's funny.
There's a lot of people who got a bunch of answers, but they don't have any questions. Well, I don't have the right questions or the answers.
I love that. I'm stealing that. That's funny. That's funny. Well, again, thank y'all so much. My best to y'all. Please enjoy the rest of your weekend. And hopefully we'll get to have you on again soon. I'd love to hear more stories. And yes, this was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much again, Barry.
Well, let's do it. Thank you. We'll see you later.
You've been listening to the Lone Star Plate podcast with your host, Patrick Scott Armstrong. For more info, go to lonestarplate.show.